Diego Pavia is ready to dominate the SEC. Yes, that is correct. Diego Pavia is ready to dominate the SEC.
You are Locked On Vandy, your daily podcast on the Vanderbilt Commodores, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yo, welcome into the Locked On Vandy podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Corey Burton. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Appreciate you. However you got here, thanks for making your way over. Now, speaking of finding their way places, Diego Pavia has found his way onto another list. That is PFF's college rankings of the highest graded quarterbacks returning in the SEC. Where did he fall on this list? And also, I know this for sure, though. Pavia is ready to dominate, and I'm going to tell you why in a little bit. Also, when it comes to targets, we know what we have in Eli Stowers, but who else is going to emerge? Is it Trent? Is it Trent Hudson? Is it Trey Richardson? Junior Sherril? Chance Fitzgerald? Joseph McVay? Who is it? Who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be a committee approach? I don't know. We'll see. And then the kickoff times have been released for the first 3 weeks. What does it look like for the Commodores? And how's that South End Zone project coming along? I drove by there the other day and noticed it was in one of those weird – it looks like it has a long way to go, but it's probably not as far off from the finish date as we think. It's in that weird kind of in-between. However, thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. Like I said, we're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Now, like I said, this is list season. This is hype season. This is preseason magazine season. This is whatever you want it to be season. This is hope season. However you describe it, it is that time of year for every football team around the country. All the excitement's there, picking over your roster, looking at every little detail in every magazine. You're looking at what everybody's saying about your program and your team, and you're analyzing it, and it's all because you're excited about college football. It's all because you're excited that in just a couple of short months, we're going to be kicking this thing off, and Charleston Southern's going to be coming to town, and we're going to be excited to get this thing underway, get this next 2025 season underway. And you're probably watching all the highlights of, reliving Alabama going down in Nashville. You're reliving the win at Auburn. You're reliving the opener against Virginia Tech. Like, you're reliving all of those moments. And you're probably watching the quarterback and wondering, how's he going to be this year? What is he going to look like? Well, I'll tell you what a lot of people think about him. PFF College is very high on Diego Pavia, and rightfully so. Here is what they have. Diego Pavia is the highest graded returning quarterback in the SEC. Looks like they rank the top 5. These are the ones that were worth ranking as far as returning starters. This list kind of surprised me because I thought, with all the love Garrett Nussmeier's getting, I thought he would have been the top of the pile, honestly. And I don't know if you can consider John Mateer a returning quarterback since this will be his first year at Oklahoma. But I guess for argument's sake, there you go. And then PFF College is not necessarily too high on Lenore Sellers, where as the rest of the pundits and the rest of the people are very high on Lenore Sellers. So that kind of surprised me a little bit that his grade is in the 70s. Diego Pavia grade now at an 88.2 according to PFF. And this is a pretty good list. Now, I think these qualities are what you'll see out of Diego Pavia. And I really think this is special for Vanderbilt because they have a chance to kind of not only repeat but improve on the performance that they had a year ago. This team was ready to roll last year. This team was legitimately good. The only reason they only won 6 games is because they ran out of gas. I think the depth of the team just wasn't quite where they wanted it or needed it to be. And they just kind of ran out of gas. Pavia got beat up. Cedric Alexander got beat up. They lost their basically their entire backfield was banged up, beat up, injured at times. Their receiving core was up and down. Their offensive line was just exhausted by the end of the year. And it was just a I don't want to say letdown. That's not a great way to describe it, but this team just physically gave out down the stretch run of the season. They played that middle six of their schedule, and it was brutal, and it took its toll on them. And with a team that didn't have the depth, you could tell. And it was a good run for Vanderbilt. It was good to see that, the effort never waned. It just, the execution was gone at certain times. There was times where they couldn't get pressure on the quarterback, especially Nico Iamaleava in the Tennessee game. All of that stuff. It was just a very, very tired roster. And you had a quarterback that was playing lights out. You had a quarterback that is an obvious X factor, and he's coming back. I mean, he just these are the things that I really like about him. He's a dual threat playmaker. He's somebody that's going to create in the passing game and create because he's just electric. He's just dynamic, and you can't, no matter what pressures you send him, he's gonna get away from him. You can't blitz him. You have to stay in your base coverages. You have to stay in your base defense, because if you come out of that, he's going to make you look silly. And it seemed like at times, especially early in the season, that 3rd and long was his favorite down and distance, because that's when Pavia Magic took over. Like, you could not get him down. You could not pin him down. You couldn't get him in the run game as well. He's going to make 2 or 3 guys miss, and it's 3rd and 8, and he's going to get 9. 3rd and 4, he's going to get 5. Like, he's going to get just enough to move the chains. And so this is somebody that obviously has the tools and obviously has everything that you need to be successful as a dual threat playmaker. Now he's got a better offensive line. He's got a good stable of running backs that hopefully will stay healthy. And he's got a lot going on for him. He's got a lot with this offense that you really, really like and that you can really get behind. So his dual threat playmaking ability, I think, is going to improve twofold, because the people around him in this team sport, football, is going to be a lot better. He has elite leadership qualities as well. I mean, when talking to Jawan last week, part of what we talked about is the Pavia factor is he gets those guys fired up, man. Like, those defensive guys, they're going to go out and ball out, because, hey, not only are we doing it for ourselves, not only are we doing it for the logo, but you got a guy on the offensive side of the ball that's just absolutely crushing it, absolutely killing it, and you're going to go and give your all for that. And so that's a situation where they're going to ball out for him, because they know he's going to do the same, and they know he's going to put everything on the line, like that. Being aggressive and playing with reckless abandon. Like that 4th and 1 play action throw that he made against Alabama. What people don't realize is not only did he put a dime on Junior Sherril, but he got crunched by 3 people, by 3 defenders when he made that throw. I mean, he got destroyed. I'm sure that hurt. So it's those type of plays that I think when you're going for an upset against an Alabama, you're going for a nice road win against Auburn, you're going for some of these things. That's the kind of thing that ignites this team. That's the kind of thing that gets everybody going and making sure that everyone plays an elevated level of football, defense, special teams, offense. Those guys just play extremely hard. They make plays for them. They get open, and it's a thing of beauty. And that's kind of those elite leadership qualities. He's never going to ask people to do stuff that he wouldn't do. And he's always going to find that edge, and he's always going to be that emotional leader for this team, and making sure that everybody's on the same page as well, and making sure everybody effort-wise is on the same page. And then his poise under pressure, man. And I'm gonna call back that throw against Alabama. There's plenty of other ones where he's scrambling and guys are rolling with him, and he throws it across his body for a first down right of the sticks. Or he throws one where he's opening up, he's moving towards the sideline, and he flicks his arm back towards the middle of the field, and there's somebody there. Like, it's like he has it's like he has 360-degree vision. He has a lot of poise. He knows where he wants to go with the ball, even when guys are in his face. Very rarely did you see him take a really bad sack. And there's also times where he's going to take care of the football. This was a team that had the fewest turnovers in the conference. And so a lot of that's his poise under pressure, getting rid of the ball, understanding what he wants to do with it, or just pulling it down and making plays himself. So it's really something that when you look at this list, I know you're thinking, okay, well, Garrett Nussmeier is a better playmaker. Well, he's got more elite people around him too. Taylon Green is a guy that I think doesn't get a whole lot of love at Arkansas. I think he's really good. And I think he definitely deserves to be on this list. And he's going to be somebody, and thankfully Vanderbilt doesn't have to play them, but he's going to be somebody that I'll be excited to watch at Arkansas. I think he's going to be really good. John Mateer's going to be really good. And I think Lenore Sillers ultimately will be good. I think if you're basing this off of last year, I think what's driving this grade is the fact that Illinois took away his ability to run and scramble, and he couldn't do much else. He struggled big time. So that's going to be something that we're going to have to see, and we're going to see it early in week 3. And Clark Lee is going to, Clark Lee and Steve Gregory, I think, are going to have a really good plan against him, and they're going to make sure that he doesn't beat him with his legs. And he's going to force him to throw from the pocket. And, that's the obvious game plan against Lenore Sillers, but, you got to do it. But anyway, I'm very stoked to see this. And this gives me great feeling that Diego Pavia is going to indeed pop off during the SEC play and during the season. So he is set to dominate. He's going to do it. He's elite. He's an elite talent, and he's an elite leader, and he's got great poise. He's got all the tools you need to be a really good, highly graded college quarterback. Now, whether or not that translates to the NFL, I'm not sure how that translates to the NFL. Quite frankly, I don't think it matters. We'll worry about that next. We'll worry about that next draft cycle. We'll worry about that in February when the combine's going and the senior bowls and all that stuff. We'll worry about all that draft stuff. But I think he's going to have an amazing season. I think he's going to be healthier, bigger, stronger, faster, better rapport with the receivers. I think getting him for a full cycle is going to be great. So we'll see kind of how that plays out. And speaking of people around him, who's going to emerge? Is it going to be Trent Hudson? That they used to have a little bit of a connection there. So but nonetheless, we're going to talk about it next. All right. First, though, you ever look at all your money and just wonder, where's it all going? Like, why am I spending this on takeout or what, online shopping, or going to the movies or whatever? It's easy to lose track, but that's where Monarch Money comes in, and that's your personal CFO. It gives you full visibility and control over your finances. And Monarch Money just isn't a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. It is the Diego Pavias of money, of financial finance. I don't even know what I was going to say with that, but you can track all your accounts, investments, spending all in one place. So you stop managing your money and you start building wealth. And when I started using Monarch, I just realized how much I was spending on takeout. And now I budget smarter and I save more. And you know what I really love about it is instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check all my finances. I can track my spending. I can even plan long-term goals. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever as well. I mean, what are most marriage fights about? Money. And you can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without all the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Vandy your first listen each and every day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And speaking of you everydayers, thank you for being an everydayer. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for making this show what it is. I appreciate you guys. And the subscribership is growing little by little, but we're still making progress, and I enjoy that. And I encourage you to bring a friend. I encourage you to spread the word. Let's get this thing going. All right. But looking forward to another successful football season. I mean, truthfully, I have every reason to believe, and this is a lot of it right here. Diego Pavia is at the top of a very good quarterback list. And when you look at who a lot of pundits think as the best quarterback, it's certainly not Diego Pavia, which I don't know. They may be on the wrong one, but Garrett Nussmeier usually gets the love. And when it's not returning starters, you have your Arch Mannings up there and those types. But I'm really excited about this football season, I'll be honest. And I think Diego Pavia is going to have a great year, but he can't have a great year without a great supporting cast. That's why football is the ultimate team game. And we know he's going to have Eli Stowers. We know that he's the best tight end coming in to this season. He's as far as draft capital goes, he's projected to go in the first round in a couple of mock drafts. And I'm sure those will update. And if he has a productive season, he'll stay in the first round. He may even go up some draft boards, and he may not even be around when the Eagles pick who is mocked to get him because of the Dallas Goedert situation, all that stuff. However, we have to, if Vandy's going to be good, it has to be more than just Diego Pavia and Eli Stowers. Diego Pavia can do a lot, but he cannot single-handedly win football games for Vanderbilt. Unfortunately, he can't. If there was anybody that I thought could, it probably would be Diego Pavia, but he's going to have a supporting cast around him. He's going to have guys that are going to catch the ball. And when he throws it, there's got to be somebody on the other end of it, right? And I really, talent-wise, I really like this receiving core. And I said it before, I still believe that they're going to be extremely productive. I really do. I really think they're going to be productive. What that looks like, what productive looks like, it's different based on needs, right? Are they going to have an electric like 2019 LSU type season or like a 2020 Bama type season? Probably not. Probably not even close. But I think when you look at, they have this metric in hockey called plus minus. But I think if you look at their plus minus, I think if you look at their impact in the passing game on the field, you're going to notice that like they have a really positive impact. And the numbers may be like underwhelming. But I do think production leads to wins. And I think that's the metric that Vandy needs to pay attention to the most when they're evaluating their season and they're looking at these receivers like, how did we win 8 games, but our leading receiver only had like 500 yards receiving? Well, his catches, he might have 500 yards on like 102 catches. He might catch the ball a lot, but it might be for short yardage. It might be, he might have a lot of touchdowns. He might not have a lot of drops. He might, there might be some productive things that they do to move the ball down the field. Does it mean they're going to be explosive? That remains to be seen. But explosive and productive are two separate things. Like explosive is, hey, we're going to lead the country in big plays. We're going to have a lot of electrifying big play touchdowns, which we're going to have our fair share of those because we are, Vandy is going to take some shots down the field. There's going to be some play action shots. There's going to be some, late in the season they hit a couple of first play bombs to junior Sherril, and that got teams on their heels quickly. Now LSU was good enough to recover at home and end up winning that game, but nonetheless, that was kind of a shock to them because they're like, oh, Vanderbilt, they came to our house and they hit a big play early. Like what the? Oh my gosh! Like they went 3 and out, and then Vandy first possession hit that play first touch. And so it's those type of things that when you're judging these receivers, it's going to be like a big touchdown followed by like a lot of 5-yard catches, right? And so the stats may look deceiving, but to me, I think the biggest target, I think the most productive guy just stepped foot on campus, Trent Hudson. I think he's going to be, I was watching some highlights of his from New Mexico State. Him and Pavia played together. And I think, honestly, it's going to be – he's very productive. He's very good. He's good with the ball in the air. He's good at contorting his body to make tough catches, make good, tough, contested catches. He's not lightning fast, but he's got a little bit of movement to him. He can get into some open lanes, and he can get himself into some great situations. He's a good route runner. He understands space, and he kind of understands where the ball needs to go. And he also, the most important part is he understands how Diego Pavia plays. He understands that Pavia is a magician. He understands that Pavia is going to do some things that are unconventional and some things that other quarterbacks can't do when scrambling and making plays and buying time. And he understands that more than anybody. And so he has that rapport with Diego Pavia, and that's going to be huge coming in because that's something that Pavia needs. He needs another reliable target. And I hate to continue on this Vandy State Aggiador train, but hell, if it keeps cranking out productive players, why not? Kalen Young, Trent Hudson, Eli Stowers, Diego Pavia. I mean, those guys have, well, I don't know about McKalen Young. He hasn't played yet, and Trent Hudson hasn't played for us yet, but they were pretty productive at their other stops. So there's nothing that leads me to believe that they won't, except for with McKalen Young, does he stay healthy? That's the only thing. But, as far as the receivers go, Trent Hudson, I think, is my favorite to be the most productive. I think you're going to get, as far as vertical passing game, as far as shot plays, I think you're going to get a lot. And it may not look like a lot, but you're going to get a lot out of Joseph McVay in that regard. I think you're going to get a lot of catch and runs with Junior Sherril. And, I think Trey Richardson is going to fit in kind of wherever he can. It's kind of a gadget guy, kind of a, just kind of an all around. I always call it a Swiss Army knife. But also what I'm excited about is Martell Height comes over. He's the Travis Hunter. He comes over to run a few routes. I think he's going to do some explosive things as well. Even though this group hasn't proven that they can do it together as a group, I think when you evaluate this season's receiving core and last season's receiving core, to me, this group is way more dynamic talent-wise. And this group has the potential to do way more on the field production-wise. Whether that's more explosive, I think that's just going to naturally come with it. I don't think it's going to be significantly more explosive, but I think it's going to be significantly more productive because they're going to be more consistent. And they're going to get better quality catches. I think they're better route runners overall. I think there's some guys in here that can really do some damage. And it's going to be an exciting, electrifying group. And so you're going to get a lot of production out of that. And that's not Vandy's identity, so they're not going to sling the ball around the yard, so you don't really need it. But you just need them aggregately to produce. Like you need the group to collectively, have like 1,500 yards and a handful of touchdowns. You need them to make those big catches on 3rd and long. You need them just to set up the runners, right? Cedric Alexander is going to feast. Diego Pavia is going to feast in the run game. They just need to be just good enough in the pass game to make themselves dangerous. But speaking of which, I think dangerous start times, all that stuff, kickoff times have been announced. What is it going to look like? Is the South End Zone going to be ready? I don't know. We're going to talk about all that next. All right, wrapping up the show. Locked On Vandy, thanks for making us your first listen. If you need a second listen right after I'm done here in a few minutes, Locked On SEC is a great place to go. Locked On Ole Miss. Stephen Willis has great perspectives on Ole Miss athletics. He's second to none in that market. So just keep that in mind. So one of the exciting things that I think probably more because it signifies that college football's here, because we're talking about TV kickoff times, right? It just lets you know it's right around the corner because networks want to get these things set up. So they usually plan the first 3 weeks and then kind of see how it goes. It's pretty much flex scheduling after that. But the kickoff times have been set. A lot of this is due to TV. So I'm really excited about kind of where Vandy's going to be. I'm really excited there's going to be college football again. Like, I really enjoy watching. The SEC is going to be as wide open and as competitive as it's ever been. And this is going to be a very exciting season. I think Vandy has a chance to prove to everybody 24 was not a fluke. But here's how it gets started. All right, August 30th against Charleston Southern. That's 6 p.m. That's going to be on ESPN+. So you're going to be watching the big boy games. You're going to be scrolling on your phone there for the first game. Then September 6th That's 2 days before my birthday at Virginia Tech, 6:30 p.m. ACC Network. I feel a little disrespected by that. I think that's a better game than the ACC Network, but what do I know, right? But that's going to be a really good, tough road test. Talked about that episode a few weeks ago, so shout out to that. Go check that out if you really want to know kind of how important this game is, and I'll get more in depth as fall camp goes on too. And then September 13th at South Carolina, 6 or 6:45, ESPN or SEC Network. It depends on where these two teams are. I think if both of these teams come in 3-0, you're going to get a 6:45 ESPN kick, right? And I think the fact that it's either or shows you kind of where they view Vanderbilt, right? If you go and get shellacked by Virginia Tech, then that game's probably going to be a 6 o'clock SEC Network game. But I think if you can come out of Virginia Tech with a win, which I think is very plausible, very possible, that South Carolina game that's going to be a prime time slot. That's going to be a big, big slot for Vanderbilt. Getting that first conference road game at 6:45 in week 3, that's going to be a special, special time. And that's going to be a chance for Vanderbilt to kind of showcase what they got. So I really like this schedule. I really like what they have going on, because you get a warm-up game against Charleston Southern, a game to kind of get right. You get then you get a warm-up road game. You get to practice in a hostile environment. So that's good. And then you just get to figure out, where these things are. You get to figure out how the logistics work. How do we manage this hostile crowd? How are we going to be in these situations? And last year, I don't think until they got to the Auburn game, I guess you could say Missouri. I guess you could say they handled Missouri pretty well on the road, but I wouldn't say they got a really true feeling of how to play on the road until like midway through the season. Like I really think they had to, that Georgia State, that was so bad that I guess it could be that distorted my view of how Vanderbilt was going to play on the road, because I was like, well, here's the thing. We don't know how this team is going to do on the road with all this going on. So I'm sitting here wondering, okay, well, you go on the road against Missouri and hell, you almost pull the upset. Missouri was a top 10 team at the time. You doink a field goal that I think you hit from your home turf. And so it's a thing. I think if they hit that field goal, I think Missouri was out of bullets, truthfully. And I think if they hit that field goal and tie it back up, I do think they win, because I think Missouri was just gassed at that point. They got their touchdown. They're like, okay, here we go. And they almost lost it on a couple of occasions. But my point being is that I think they're more apt to dealing with these road environments. I think it's a better roster, a more mature roster. I think the leadership, I think Diego Pavia is not going to let this happen. I think he's going to, I think they got too into themselves, too full of themselves. And I think Pavia, as cocky as he is, I think he understands what this team needs, and he's going to make sure he delivers it. So that first road environment is going to be important, because you're going to get a team that will get that warm up, and they'll want to, Virginia Tech will also obviously be out for revenge. So this ain't going to be a lackadaisical game for sure. Diego Pavia is not going to let it happen, and the environment's not going to let it happen. Hopefully they don't get intimidated, which I don't see any reason why they would, but it's just got to protect against that. And then at South Carolina, that's going to be a tough one. They're loaded, dude. And they got Lenore Sellers as quarterback. That's going to be a hell of a game right there. And if you win that one, I think 9, possibly 10 wins is on the horizon, because South Carolina's a good team. If you can deal with Dylan Stewart, if you can deal with Lenore Sellers, and you can shut him down in the run game, if you can play that game like Illinois did, I think you're going to be in great shape with that. So nonetheless, that's kind of where these kickoff times are. I really like that all these are at night. I really like that your first road game's at night, or early evening, I should say, and then your second road game is at a similar time. So it truly is a rehearsal. Now, Virginia Tech obviously is an important game, but like it's obviously a rehearsal for what South Carolina is going to bring. And I think you get an idea of, okay, where are we on the road? What do we have to fix? Hopefully you can learn all those things after a win. But anyway, that's all I got for you guys on this episode. Pavia set to dominate. I think it's going to be a productive wide receiving core, and the schedule setting up to be, it's difficult, but Vanderbilt's pretty good, and this is the SEC, so let's go get it. But that's all I got. Hope you guys behave yourselves. Hope you guys like, subscribe, all that stuff. Make sure you guys come back. And until then, check out Locked On SEC, check out Locked On Portal, check out all the Locked On SEC shows, and find ones that you can dig. But until then, we'll see you back here next time. Anchor down. Peace out. Later.